And we're live.
Welcome to another episode of the B&W Show. You can watch us on Facebook and YouTube at the B&W Show. For questions, comments, or even suggestions of discussion, that's right. Put them up. You can reach us at the B&W Show, baby. The B&W Show 1 at gmail.com. Okay. And now, on to the next episode.
Hashtag us on your.
Do I get to say it, or you can say it? Do I have to say hello, or you want to say hello? What up, my mustard asses?
Mustard asses. Don't forget about our paste face jammers. Welcome to another episode of the greatest show ever. In case you can't hear me very well or hear my tone, the change in weather has changed my voice for a little bit. So yeah. I got that excess mucus built up. So I have my water here that's gonna keep me liquidated for the show. So today we have a very enlightening show.
Yeah, my man is right here.
Sorry, I'm late, guys.
It's all good, man.
Good.
Come on, have a seat, man.
Yeah, I was doing.
Word up, get coming.
So
Good.
We have a very enlightening show. Enlightening not as in religious, but more to come on religion. Not enlightening as illuminating, as in lights. Yes, we may get spiritual. Yes, we may shed some light, but doing like we do here on the B&W Show, we are bringing knowledge.
Yes.
We are bringing eye-opening appraisals, and mostly we're talking community. Being positive to you, mine, but positive to yours, mine, or somebody else's community, to help us with about the positivity in community. We are proud to bring to you on this show, on this very show. It is an honor, big honor, y'all. Big honor for the B&W Show. Welcome to the stage, the 2020 Martin Luther King Living the Dream Award winner, Colby Jeffries.
All right.
Thank you.
But before we get into all of that, because positivity aside, being this is the happiest show that we are doing so far in our 3 seasons.
Everybody knows you was on CP time today, but it's all right.
Exactly. Hey, it's rainy out. It threw me off.
It just came in.
Exactly.
So being this is the happiest show that we've done so far in our enlightenment. This is my first real ever I hate. So I'm bringing an I hate.
Yeah, this is like
the positive.
Somebody popping their cherry just on. Just
he never has an I hate.
He never said an I hate. So we just got to give him.
So
what you got, bro?
So this is the true I hate. This is my biggest peeve is the phrase ASAP.
Oh,
ASAP.
Oh,
I hate that phrase.
How come?
Because it has no meaning. ASAP is as soon as I'm going to fucking get to it. Not ASAP. You send me an email that says, I need this ASAP. That email just went to the back of the line. And I'll get to it ASAP as soon as I fucking get to it. That's as soon as I'll fucking get to it. That's ASAP.
You don't take ASAP in a positive manner.
No, you don't have any positive thought.
I'm very positive I'll fucking get to it as soon as I fucking get to it. I'm very positive about it.
Like, we just changed the speed. Like, we all hit the deadline. I need this shit ASAP. Okay.
You're now.
I have an I hate also.
Oh.
I hate when people know it's raining outside and you see somebody on the bus stop, man, and you can easily move to the other lane, but you just drive on the side and splash water on them. That's not cool, bro. That's not cool, right? Even if your girlfriend left you that day or whatever going on, that's not cool, man. Like, I hate.
Okay, so like here's the question: is it funny though?
See, that's why. My
I'm just saying though, because you seen that on those America's Funniest Videos. The bus come.
Yeah.
Oh man, she got drenched.
I do the extra. So when I go through, I even turn on my windshield wipers just to get that extra little flick of water.
Hey, look! I was watching a documentary yesterday and this guy was driving. It was this black guy, right? This isn't about race anything, but there's a black. He's standing. He's in a suit.
Right.
He's in a suit.
Listen,
he's in the suit. He's in the suit with an umbrella. It wasn't raining yet, but he's standing. It's like the rain had stopped, so it was puddles everywhere. Mm-hmm. He's standing on the bus stop. He had a suit on, and the car came past, and it's like he could have just pulled over to this side. He just splash, right? And the guy was like, "You mother!" Ooh. And then the light turned red. So picture that. So he splashed water on, and then the light turned red. So then the guy runs the car. Hey man, what the man? Ooh. And it caused a lot of confusion and problems, man. But you just, you know what I'm saying? Like, come on, man, you never know how the world is, man. You can just pull over.
Well, see,
like,
you know,
it might be funny, but still.
That's true. And as a pedestrian standing by the curb and there's a puddle in front of me and it's raining, I'm gonna be a smarter pedestrian. I'm gonna stand back off the curb, you know. I'm gonna be like, yo, hold up.
True, I still hate that though.
I feel you though.
I feel
you though. Yeah, I hate
you. Well, you know, just real quick, if I could touch on that, it's interesting because even the phrase "I hate" it's an interesting phrase, but I think in terms of like what I know about the show, what's interesting about that phrase is everything in life. There's like two sides of the coin, you know. Mm-hmm. So like I've just been reflecting a lot on like love and how the other side of love is like pain, you know.
Sure.
But I think hate, there's also the other side of hate, which is love. And I think everything you guys all just shared about what it is that you hate, if you kind of think and reflect on why you hate it, you'll find on the other side there's something that you deeply love.
Right.
So for example, I'm thinking for you probably have a love just for treating people right, you know? So then when you see someone do that, it's triggering that love for treating people right. And it's like such a obvious like infraction on that it triggers that hate because that's on the other side. So you can't really hate something unless there's a deep love on the other side, you know?
That makes sense.
Yeah, for me, on the other side of the coin, yeah. Would you say? I guess my trigger would be what? No, I'm not. I'm a nice guy, though. I'm a nice guy too. You know.
But if there's anything that you hate, there's going to be something that you love on the other side.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. So with my ASAP, I hate ASAP. I love not being piled on.
Don't make sense. You know, you don't like being pressured. You like people being understanding.
Right.
Because sometimes with ASAP, there's like this pressure, undue pressure.
Yeah, like, ASAP. Because you hear it, like when you do see it in an email or something at work, you be like, man, okay, yeah, ASAP. And then in your head, you're like, ASAP. You're like, just this cat gotta be yelling like this bitch.
Right. Why are you yelling? I hate
you gotta be yelling. You like, you just hear ASAP. You're like, oh, so they want ASAP now.
But it's real irritating when somebody texts you that, hey, call me ASAP. I never call you back and do that. I don't know why. Like, it's you rushing me.
But see, that's that emergency code right there.
Right. That's an emergency code?
That's that call me back ASAP. Right. But see, my mom would set me up with that, man.
Only time that works,
ASAP.
Only time that works is if it's my wife.
Okay, my Dukes, man, she said, call me back as soon as you can. Call. Okay, I call her. Hey, Mom, what's up? You good, Mom? You good, Mom? Oh, yeah, hey, I just wanted to know, what time was you coming over on Saturday? For real, Mom?
Right?
That was your important question.
Well, you couldn't text that. You said ASAP. I'm thinking something wrong.
Right.
Well, I was just thinking about what's going on at the house. I'm like, really, though? Really? Yeah, that's the ASAP. Yeah. It's deceiving, man. It's deceiving.
All right. So now that that's done and over with, get to our main topic.
ASAP.
So with all this love stuff, I'm going to start it off. Why are you so happy?
Why am I so happy, man? That is a great question.
Okay, so what's your sign?
What's my sign? Yeah. I'm a Cancer.
So are Cancers supposed to be emotional?
You know, I'm not sure. I've never been a huge zodiac kind of person.
I don't get that.
People believe in that though, for real though.
I know there's some, you know, I'm sure some truth to when you're born and whatnot.
The vortexes, all that, man. You know, Sedona, Power Flex, but others, you know, didn't know. But why are you so happy?
Why am I so happy? Well, it's funny you asked that because I was telling you yesterday that this was actually probably one of the toughest weeks I've had in a while, where my happiness was really tested. But I think for me, of course we all have our different sources of happiness. I would say first and foremost, like from a spiritual perspective, just being able to understand what I am, you know, that I'm a human that was created by an almighty creator that created me from love and that has my back, and that there's a purpose in life. All that, if I can remember that, I can get myself in the mind state to remember that, it allows me to kind of bring that happiness back. Sure. I know not everything's out to get me. And, you know, just to give an example, I had one thing that I'm really passionate about is like youth empowerment, you know? So I work with a lot of youth in my community over in Sunny Slope. And we had this camp back in winter break. You know, the kids were off school, so we did like a 5-day camp up north, and we were up there, and we were you know, doing the camp, doing some study, discussions, activities, and whatnot. And then in the middle of the camp, I lose my phone, and it's like
that's
and it
when
was
your heartbeat.
Yeah, right.
Stop when you lose your phone.
Right. Well, and it was interesting because the week or two prior to that, I've been thinking, man, I've been on my phone too much. I'm spending too much time on my phone. I'm distracting me from my family, all this stuff, right? Then all of a sudden, out of the blue, I lose my phone.
Right.
And it's in an area where, mind you, the cell service isn't good. So I tried doing find my phone. Can't find it. I look, and I'm in a huge campground, you know, just grass everywhere, all kinds of stuff. I look everywhere. I can't find it. So I'm just like, all right, then. So at first I was kind of frustrated. I was feeling a little off, you know, just like naked a little bit. Like, oh, I didn't have my phone. You know,
you keep hitting the spot. Like,
yeah, where'd it go? You know,
like you go disappear in your pocket.
Oh, there you were, you know. So no, I'm missing for like 2 days. I can't find it. And then, so we're studying this quote, this like spiritual quote, and it was talking about how God's love is our companion. It was like this, and it was this thing that I've read before in this quote, but I hadn't really put too much thought into it. And all of a sudden, we're talking about it in this group, and I just get this like epiphany in my mind. And it basically, I realized that if you see God's love as your companion, it's going to change how you view when you get tested. So if you view God and you're always afraid of him, you think he's just out to get you, then every test you get, you're going to be afraid, scared. If you don't really believe or you're not tapped into that kind of stuff, then you're just going to think it's all luck or coincidences. Like, oh, that was just bad luck, you know. And he got good luck, I got bad luck. But in this case, I'm like, all right, no, God loves me, so I'm getting tested right now. And the way that it happened, it wasn't a foolish thing. It fell out of my pocket kind of randomly. So I took it as this is a test. And if I view it from a loving perspective, I'm like, oh, dang, God's trying to teach me something right now, you know? So this is a good test I'm getting. What is it I'm supposed to learn? Let me reflect. Let me pray about it. And so then I'm thinking all that. And I finally came to the conclusion. I'm like, maybe I just need to learn to detach from this phone. I need to be less attached to it. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go the rest of this camp. And I'm going to think about it. I'm just going to let that phone go. I'm going to adapt. And I kid you not, literally right after that session with those youth, one of the kids in my group, shout out to Jose, he goes outside, and he said he was just thinking about my phone for some reason. It was in his mind. He said he's just playing around. He grabs a football. He's kind of like messing around. Then he thinks to himself, I wonder how far I could throw this football. So he just takes it, just throws it as far as he can into the field, just to see how far he can throw it. Then he runs, goes to get it. As he's going down to pick it up, what's right next to that football? My phone. Sitting right there in the grass. He grabs my phone, and he comes in running. He's like, Colby, he's like, look what I found. I'm like, you're kidding. I'm like, were you hiding that the whole time? He's like, no, I swear to God, I just threw the football. I found it. And to me, it was almost as if God was like so directly testing me about this issue. And he's like, and then as soon as I came to that realization, it was like, all right, pass the test.
Like a needle in a haystack.
It was. So anyway, so this past week, and I was having some more struggles, but what keeps me from staying down about it is it's like, all right, what was I supposed to learn? Why am I being tested? This is out of love. God's trying to help me. And if you have that paradigm, then you view tests differently. Because I think tests are generally what make us unhappy. We get upset when we have pain. Human beings are, we're hardwired to seek pleasure and avoid pain. But tests come with pain, and growth can't happen without pain.
We love to learn, but we hate to be tested.
Exactly. So if we can learn to love the test a little more because we understand it's for growth and learning, then I think it helps us to be happier. So I would say that's one of the, right now, at least in this moment, because I had a tough week, that's one of my biggest sources of staying happy is like, why am I being tested? What's the source of
the test? That's how I feel about the car. So everybody know I had a bad accident, and it totaled my vehicle. I thought I was good. They got me that money real fast. I would have got a brand new Expedition. I thought I was fine. I had just spent like $2,000 on to clear my license. I'm telling myself, because I did this because I need to drive. And then I woke up one morning, and my mind, from the concussion, I couldn't drive anymore. And I was just telling Aaron and them, like, oh my God, why is this happening to me? I just want my life back. But then I started looking at it like, God wanted me to be still for something. Like, just be still. It was something in there, you know what I'm saying? Like, but it's getting better now. But it just woke up one morning and just couldn't drive.
Wow. It's funny because in a sense we all like had that rehab moment, because athletes, injuries, obstacles, you stumble, you fall off, life gets you down, you got to pick it. It's that rehab moment, and that rehab is when we go through that strife. You know, when we got to try to keep bending that knee out when it hurts like heck and you want to start crying to your mama. You know? It's like when, man, I know I got to be patient because I know I got to wait to get this house, but this got to clear first. I got to handle this money issue, you know. So all of that and that strife is just like when those obstacles in life that come at you is how you going to face it, how you going to look at it. And it's like we all can say, but we all have a different perspective on how we're going to try to handle that obstacle. That's what's the difference about it. You know?
Yeah, and I think with that, it almost goes to the whole two sides of the coin. It's like when you rehab and you have the pain, you wouldn't know what health meant, or you wouldn't know what feeling good is unless you feel the other side, which is to have that knee feel like that. So then when you get that, if you just focus on the pain, then it's going to make you sad and depressed all the time. But if you think, oh man, what a bounty it was that I spent all this time with that health and with that luxury of having that good, but then that motivates you to want to heal it. And then once you heal, hopefully you can have the mindset to appreciate the health more, and not take it for granted. Because I think that's what all that stuff is, just to remind us, like, hey, this is a gift. You know, this stuff's a gift.
What I want to ask, what makes you humble? Or have you always been humble, or what makes you humble? Because I say I believe, in order you have to be humble in order to allow yourself to grow.
Oh, of course.
You see what I'm saying? And getting through those stripes is, I believe, what makes a person humble. You can be a hard head until that wall hits you. You can't run through it no more. You're like, oh, okay, let me sit back and think about what I'm doing. You see what I'm saying? So what makes you humble?
What makes me humble? Well, I think I would say, again, like in a big sense, just kind of like taking a step back and thinking about the reality of existence definitely humbles me. I'm like, man, I'm just this little kind of thing in this big thing. And who am I to think that I'm, anything significant in this grand scheme of creation, or looking at anybody else in the world? But in a more specific sense, I would just say, failing and or being, not being perfect in something. It's like, I'm not perfect. I have my struggles, and really, like, for example, if I want to sit there and think about other people's faults, all I have to do is just take a second and think about my own. I'm like, oh, that's right. I'm not perfect either. I'm not this. I struggle with this. I struggle with this. I struggle with. All right, then. But then I think going back to the bigger sense, it's then like even, for example, anytime I come to something like this, I'm invited to perform somewhere, or speak somewhere, or talk with anyone. I always get that nervousness, like, oh man. And every time right before I get in, I just go right to God, and I'm like, all right, God, thank you for this opportunity. Whatever it is you want to have happen, just help me to say the right words, help me to do the right things. And that it kind of gets it off me, makes it less about me and myself. And and that humbles me, because it's like, all right, whatever's supposed to happen, you make it happen. This is I'm giving this to you. That allows me to try and stay humble as much as I can.
So are you close with your family?
Yeah, I would say I'm close with my family for sure.
Because when you give.
Yes.
Give. So, you learn those lessons through, like learned behaviors. Who we learn from? Our family. Absolutely. So, by what you're saying and your energy, it's okay. So you got a very positive environment, which people that work with kids, to me, man, because I've worked with kids and do sports and stuff. Okay. It's different because not everybody wants to give up their 5 minutes. Like you say, like people watching us.
Right.
Thank you for your 5 minutes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, givers and takers.
I work with kids too. I was the manager of the Martha Stewart sweatshop.
I was wondering where this is going. I just want to touch on one thing you triggered. Is having a child. So I have a 2.5-year-old, and that humbles the heck out of you, because it's just like, I remember having a few moments where, like, you're focused on something before you had a kid. It's just like, all right, I'm just going to do my thing.
They're teething now.
And then, I remember he had, I don't know, he was crying about something.
Right.
And it was like, I just couldn't say, well, hold on. This was like when he was just a few months old. And it just humbled you. It's like, no, this isn't about you.
Right.
This is about him now. And that just humbles you, and it's not about you anymore. I think humility is all about just taking things off of you, making things less about you.
Yeah, man. You talk about that first 105 fever, you like, oh shit. What I do?
Oh yeah, right.
What I do?
Absolutely.
Hey, call the doctor. Damn it, call the doctor.
Right.
I don't care about the food. Call the doctor.
Right. Yes,
you calling everybody. It's crazy, man. It's crazy, man. But that's real with it, Martha Stewart there.
All right. So to go on the other side of Martha Stewart. So so you were the winner of the 2020 Martin Luther King Jr. Living the Dream Award.
Right.
So two things for that question.
Martin Luther King, people, and he not black.
Hey.
So, you know,
Right.
you would think Martin Luther King gives, you know,
Of course.
which this is like one of the things about you. You know what I'm saying? I mean, so not to cut Aaron off, but yeah, Martin Luther King, people.
Hey man, he was definitely an inspiration for myself, but many people. So it's very, very humbling in terms of thinking of, you know, humility. Very humbling to even be in the same breath as Martin Luther King.
Right. Well, I mean, to go off of that, I mean, it's very correct that non-blacks are able to win this award, because Martin Luther King wasn't about bringing the blacks up and bringing everybody else down. He was about everybody's at this level.
Right.
So Martin Luther King wasn't about blacks keeping themselves separated.
Right.
That's very much the opposite. That's already what was happening. So to continue for the black community to continue to separate themselves is a dishonor to who Martin Luther King is.
Right. And I like it definitely expands the message in a sense.
Right.
Say, you know, we're getting outside of our own community in a sense.
Right.
And that's what that message and the awards and award winner, my man here, Colby, you know, just, you know, the words don't just stop here at the end of this avenue.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So, you know, that's an honor. But it's like, you must have put in a lot of work, man.
You know, I gotta say it was.
I mean,
it was
that's
a weird
real.
feeling.
You must put in a lot of work, kid.
It's been, you know, I do my best. I gotta say, it still was very humbling in the sense I was like, really me? I mean, there's a lot of other people in this community that I'm sure are doing better stuff than me. But at the end of the day, I just had to take it, not get caught up in
So
that
how
stuff.
you get nominated for it?
Yeah, so you get nominated by someone, by anyone who just recognizes what you're doing. So just to be real about it, my dad nominated me. So shout out to my dad, who is probably my biggest supporter.
That's right. But I just say, my son's doing great things. Like, my man's proud. We all say, we're proud of our children.
Right.
But your dad's like, I'm proud of my son. Yo, check it out. Yo,
and that is my dad. That is my dad. You know, he's a banker at Chase, and he always tells him, I showed this customer your music video today. Hey, I heard this person lives near you. Can you connect with them? So he does a lot to support me for sure. So he's the one that nominated me. Then it goes to a committee that's commissioned by the city of Phoenix. They review all the nominees.
Right.
I'm sure they do some research or whatever, and then
categories and things you have to qualify in, like how much community service, your education.
That's a good question.
Do you have any criminal history? Is it?
I'm very sure all of that's in there.
Yeah, most likely. But yeah, I'm sure they have some sort of criteria. They didn't really speak much about it or share much about it. But I think primarily they just look at people that are, because it's called the Live in the Dream Award. So they really look at people. I think they look at, what was Martin Luther King's dream? Obviously, from his Live in the Dream speech, but more broadly, his whole, way of looking at the world. And then they just try to find people that are doing things. I think it's mostly on your actions in the community.
So what do you think is your biggest impact so far in, how old are you again?
32.
32, young man, very young man. You know what I'm saying? When
Getting
you look
up
at
there.
your whole lifespan, it's like, this is what you're doing so far. So what do you think is a bigger impact? Your music, which we're going to talk about in a minute, your music, or you think your actions, what you do with the youth, or what you may do with the homeless or other aspects of the community, or being an advocate.
So broad.
You see what I'm saying? Yeah, it's like I'm going through many different categories, and one person really will focus on this and this, and you focus on a lot of different aspects in the community. So, do you feel like, my music reaches harder than what I may do here, or do you figure I got my following from my music because of this is what I'm doing in the streets first? You know what I mean?
That's a great question. And I think so. The word that comes to mind that I reflect on a lot is coherence. That's a word that comes up in the activities that I do a lot. And and kind of how I see that word is like everything kind of impacts each other. It all connects, So, and you have to realize that. So for me, I think like the music has been probably the thing that's had the broadest reach.
Right.
And I'm always kind of astounded. Like literally this morning, someone just messaged me out of the blue and was like, hey, I was like listening to your song today, and they just kind of spilled out their heart, and I was like, wow, that's crazy. The fact that the song that I made, it just put out there, had this effect on your soul. It's amazing. So I would say that's the thing that's had the broadest impact. And with like obviously with technology, it can reach anyone. It can reach the whole world. However, with that said, I think the work in the neighborhood that I do is probably the thing that brings the most potential for like meaningful change, like changing like structures and changing like systems. The music is, I think, just give people that spark that everybody needs, you know, to want to get change, like that thing that hits you in the soul of like, yes, I want to do this. But then for me, it's like, all right, I'm actually doing it at the level of my neighborhood, trying to build community and connect, you know, people together and build up the next generation, the youth who are coming into their powers. And it's like, they're going to choose that path. And are they going to choose the path that's selfish, or are they going to choose the path that's of service for, you know, giving back? And so I feel like that is the thing that I see the most change, like in my own eyes. But then even taking it to another level, like even as a parent and as a husband, that's where I see like, that's most immediate every single day, moment by moment. I'm seeing the impact. When I see my son do something that I did, it's like, oh dang, he's literally mimicking me. But then I think it's important to balance, but also see the coherence. So like, you know, for me, if I make a song about, you know, positivity, well, that's a reminder then when I'm out in the neighborhood, it's even a reminder for me of like, I got to stay true to that. Or when I'm out in the neighborhood, that's going to give me inspiration of the issues that I see that are plaguing youth, or the hope that I see in them. That's going to then inform the songs I want to write about. Or that's going to inform how I want to be a parent. Cause I'm like, oh dang, I'm working with these, you know, middle schoolers, and I'm seeing, okay, my kid's only 10 years away from that. I got to be mindful of this in terms of how I'm being a parent right here. So I see that it kind of all connects. But of course, you know, it is a very poignant question. And I would say in terms of, broad reach music for sure. And then like soul reach, the music, as far as like, you know, but as far as like really working and changing stuff in the community, I definitely think the work in the neighborhood is.
So I just thought of something. So you said Sunny Slope?
Sunny Slope's where I'm at, yeah.
Now what's that? Mesa?
Sunny Slope is like North Central Phoenix. North 7th Street and Dunlap area. Okay. Because, you know, when you drive through certain areas, let's be real, you see some areas of hope, and then you see some areas of just dismal. Hope and nope. Right. You just like nope. You can go a block and you still like nope. You go 2 blocks, you like nope. You go 3 blocks, you hit a whole nother subdivision, a whole nother zip code, like, oh, here's hope. Yeah. So do you see that in Sunny Slope? You know, because reason I ask is when you say, okay, well, I need to touch these people because this mindset of my community in which I'm giving back to through my music, this is burning me. You know, I got to give it back in this direction. Is that one of the motivations from what you see in where you live? Because I never been to Sunny Slope. Okay, come through. You know what I'm saying? Give you a tour. These G code. No, man, that's another fantastic question, and it's interesting because, again, kind of one of the concepts from the program that I work with that comes to mind when you share that is this idea of progress. And from what I've learned, you can kind of look at progress from 2 perspectives, the material and the spiritual. Material being things like, you know, the way things look, the beauty, the cleanliness, things like that. But then the spiritual is like, how are the people? What's in their hearts? You know, what kind of relationships are there? And I think that what I've seen is we've all been very conditioned to mainly look at the material. So like when we go through a neighborhood, if it's, you know, quote unquote poor, or there's quote unquote, you know, social issues, we go, oh, this is a sketchy neighborhood. This neighborhood's bad. But then if it's wealthy and everything looks nice, like, oh, this is a nice neighborhood. But what sometimes we fail to realize is like, you know, so for example, my parents, God bless them, you know, they're both very well off. So they live in a pretty wealthy neighborhood. And that's where I, you know, grew up in my early years. And a lot of people, if they drove through the neighborhood, they'd be like, oh, this is a nice neighborhood. But how many of their neighbors do they know? What kind of love is going on? Yeah, what happens inside them homes? What goes inside those homes, you know, I don't know. And the relationship, and not to, you know, say, oh, that's a bad neighborhood, but it has its own challenges. And then if you go through, you know, let's say where I live, a lot of people would drag, you live there? Why do you live there? Man, that neighborhood's ghetto. That neighborhood's sketchy. And I'm like, well, do you even know it? You know, do you know the people? Because I know all the people. And, you know, yes, there's homelessness, there's drug abuse, things of that nature, and they're more visceral and visible. But why does that make it a bad neighborhood? But it's because we're only looking at the material. It's like, oh, that's not wealthy, that's not clean, that's poor. Therefore, it's bad. So, however, with that said, not to say that those issues shouldn't be addressed. Of course, we still want to help. You know, those that are suffering from homelessness, those that are suffering from drug abuse, those are issues that need to be addressed. But to me, it's more importantly like, and this is kind of going back to the spiritual standpoint, is if we view everyone first and foremost as a soul that was created by a creator that gave them unique talents and capacities and made them good, made them beautiful, made them worthy, then you view everything differently. You view everyone as a resource for change. You view everyone as someone who is someone that deserves that empowerment, deserves that compassion. And so that flips my paradigm, and I try to be as conscious of that as possible and kind of shake all that conditioning that gets thrown on us from media and from what people say. But yeah, just to go again, sorry to kind of go off on a tangent, but to go back to your question, yes, I'm seeing youth that, sometimes don't have anyone looking out for them, or seeing that, the drug use is right next door, or seeing that there's like a big thing I see is a lot of people there's no time to give back to the kids or the youth. So it's kind of like, well, let them figure it out, and then we're angry when they get into problems.
Building robots.
So that's probably my biggest motivation is like, just give them some time, give them some love, and then see what flourishes. So I'll just give one quick analogy. It's like it'd be like, as a gardener, if you planted a seed, did nothing to help it, and then when it wasn't growing, you got like angry at the plant. Like, that would be foolish, right? No one's gonna be like, you stupid plant, you're not growing. It's like, oh shoot, why is this plant not growing? Okay, it must, oh, look at that, it's getting no sunlight. Let me just move it over here. And when's the last time I watered this thing? It's been a couple of weeks. Oh shoot, my bad. So, but for some reason we don't view humans the same way, where it's like, these are these little seeds, these little kids, youth growing up, and if they're doing bad stuff, instead of saying, man, these bad kids, they're so full of trouble, we should think, what's the environment? What in the sun, meaning like, what kind of love are they getting? The water, what kind of energy are we giving them? Are we feeding them that goodness? And if they're not, it's actually just a reflection on us as a society that we're not giving them the nutrients. Because when they're properly fed love, teachings, education, kids turn out great. It's proven. So anyways.
Well, to continue on that then, with what's going on in the world today, the United States, so Donald Trump's president, and the best we got to take him out are the Democrats.
Oh my God.
I mean, really?
Here we go.
We got racist cops, we got racist politicians, we even got racist racists. So,
racist.
So what's the point of being positive if we have all this stuff coming at us to try to keep us down?
I know. True. No, true. I want to know. Like I want to pick my mentor's mind. I want to know these answers. I just want to get your perspective on this. So with all this going on, what is it to be? Why be so positive?
Yeah. No, again, that's a great question. I know I struggle with that myself too. Like, interestingly, I think first off, when the world is like that, I think there's like a few different options people can choose. One is like, I just want to know. You get like sucked into it almost because you want to know. You seek out justice, you seek out truth, and you get sucked into all that stuff. Another is like, I'm just going to ignore it. I don't even want to have to deal with that. I'm just going to focus on me, do me, and let the rest just go to whatever it's going to go. But I think somewhere in the middle, it's like, and this is where I strive, is like, take it in, understand the reality, but then use it as like fuel to be that positive change agent. It's like, oh man, that's wrong. Okay, but I know I could change it. So let me go ahead and what am I going to do differently about that? But again, taking it kind of like my level, but then at a bigger level. So I know we may get into this, but I'm a member of the Baha'i faith, and there's a lot of amazing teachings that have helped me understand the world. And one of the teachings, kind of at this big world level, is that there's basically two processes going on at any given time with regards to these big issues. One is of disintegration and one is of integration. And meaning that there's things that are happening that are almost meant to take down old structures that no longer serve the world. And then there's also those that are building up these new systems, new structures that are going to be needed for this emerging, evolving world that we have. Well, the best analogy that I've ever heard used to kind of describe that is in forests. So a lot of people, when they see like a forest fire, they think, oh, that's bad. That's terrible. And in some forests, like in the Amazon, where it's not a natural part of the ecosystem, it is bad. But in like in a lot of American forests, forest fires are actually a natural part of the ecosystem, and it's actually needed, because what happens is all the leaves fall, and then it ends up creating this like a lot of debris on the ground. And when there's all that debris, seeds can't actually grow because they need to get to the dirt. So one of the things that nature has to eliminate all of that is a forest fire, which kind of burns away all of that debris and then creates fertile ground for new seeds to be able to then come and grow. So to me, I kind of view like the political systems, all of the systems that are kind of imploding on themselves. It's almost like this like forest fire that's like, all right, this political system, it just doesn't serve humanity today, it needs to go.
Right.
All the systems that we have, the economic systems that we put all this faith into, it's like they just don't serve humanity. Like, how much time do we need to put into an economic system that makes a few people as wealthy as half the population of the world? Like, clearly that's wrong. That's just not an operating system. A political system where it's like we don't even really choose who's getting into office. It's like we get told these are the few people you can elect, and then we just have to live with the result. Like, that's not really a system that works. That's not really democracy, you know? So to me, it's like, I don't want to look at it and say, oh, let it just burn. But I also understand, like, yeah, these things are crumbling for a reason. So am I going to sit here and try and, like, do I want to go to a burning building and just try to patch it up and just be working? Or do I want to go, oh, look at this other new building that I can build. Let me build that. And that's where coming into, let me build some community in my neighborhood, and let's all work together and let's build new stuff, you know, that are founded upon new principles. And then, yeah, if people want to work in that old building, fine, let them be. But I'm not going to sit there and put all my energy into something that's crumbling when I have the opportunity to build something new. And I think that's what brings that positivity, is because when you are building the new thing, it gives you that hope. And if you even use that analogy, you're working on a new building. Oh man, look at that. We got the foundation built. It's looking so nice, you know? Okay, look at that. We got the milestone now. We got the whole structure built. Now we got to get the electricity, the plumbing in, versus if you're focused on an old building that's just crumbling, and every single, like, think of an old house, you got every single day something's popping up, you know, how much stress that's going to bring you. So I think everyone that's focusing on that old crumbling order, that's why it stresses you out. So anyway, that's one way to look at it.
So there's a message for you guys. So stop focusing your politics on DC and focus on your politics in your community, and build your community up to where you want it to sit, where you want your nation to be. And that community will grow and expand and become DC. You don't even worry about DC. As far as I can say,
DC what? Washington.
Yeah.
How bad it is over there.
Yeah. You know, I don't want to say stop voting, but stop voting for president and start voting for community. Build your community and allow the United States to then become your community.
Start voting for community.
And when I was looking online, I've been knowing Colby for some years, man. And I was like, I didn't know you lived in that community, but I was like, as trying to be a counselor right now, I always believed like I was gonna take my tattoos off and I wasn't gonna tell people where I was from, but people want people to be in it. You got to go where the problem is. So when I seen you there, that's what I was like, look at them going where the problem is. So I be in Sunny Slope. I know about Sunny Slope, and it's very challenging over there. So it definitely needed a person with your spirit over there. And I just seen, when I seen y'all clean up over there, I was like, man, look at this dude. Like, and this is the thing I'm gonna tell you that y'all didn't know. This been years he been like this. Years he been like this. It been years, over 10 years. He was helping me. 10 years, and your spirit stays the same, man. And I applaud you for that, man, for not changing. You know what I'm saying? That's great, man. That's just great. And I'm excited about you being here on the show and sharing your perception on certain things. You know, man, I don't even know like what else to say. I'm just happy you're here and just like
man. I mean, who would have thought 9 years ago we'd be in here, you know, doing a little radio program together? That's what's up.
Yeah, definitely. And for y'all to know, like yesterday was my PTK. Honor Society ceremony, and it started right here. It started right here. You know what I'm saying? I appreciate it. But like, I'm not ashamed to say a lot of people don't want to say it about getting a GED and stepping up. Like, oh, you got a GED, or you went to community college. Thank God those things are out there. You know what I'm saying? Thank God for community college. Thank God for, because right now I got like 7 scholarships to go to different universities. Now look at that, right? But it started right here. Somebody believing me and not giving up on me. And I just appreciate how nice you were in the class and your patience with me, because I was something else. I was something else, but all the people that made a difference. So when I think about me, I think about all the other people you're affecting like that. I'm like, man, look how many other people you're affecting, like my children, right? Like they love this omnipotent, man. I'm ready to get up on that subject right now, man. Like the music, right? Oh, let me go right here, because I was saying this when Bill was talking. The community service, the music, the podcast, you know, people learn in different type of ways. Right. You know, like that's what I do in counseling. Like I told them, what's your way? Is it visual? You know what I'm saying? Is it through music? Is it reading? Or is it personal? I have to talk to you which way? So he's like hitting all of them, bro. Like all of them, right? Because I see him performing in front of children. I'm like, this dude, man. I remember he used to be in front of the classroom. And then I listened to his music, right? And then like Suki and Castle can't get over Omnipotent. They listen to him like he's Waka Flocka Flame, bro. I'm telling you. Listen, bro, I'm trying to tell you, but it's different. Right. This is what you want. Listen, I'd rather my children to be trying to learn the verses of Omnipotent than learning standing on the corner, smoking on a blunt, right, stinging on your gun and standing on the front. I'd rather, you know, so it feel good, and then I can back it up like, look, man, this is some good music. So I'm ready to get all the music now, you know, and the videos and everything. So I appreciate you being you and spreading your message in different platforms, several platforms, man. But here go my question, right?
I have a question.
Build it up.
Check it out. So after I met you, I met a man named George Henderson, Dr. G, right? And he opened my mind up to mental wellness. He came to me like with the green pill, red pill, right? He was like, listen, this hand is indictment. This hand is you going on with your life. What do you want to do? And I was thinking like, I got this teacher trying to help me. I got some people on my side. I need to make some changes, right? And it just comes to the part of you use some words that Council asked me, what is omnipotent, Dad? Who is he talking about? Like no, it was important. It's like the other level. You remember being in George class, it's like certain words to say, he know. Y'all know what I'm saying? I don't know if y'all know, it's just certain words. It's like passwords, or it's like secret words, not saying a secret society, but secret words like this guy know or she know.
Yeah, secret society was last month.
yeah, but like certain words, like, so when you please explain to me, when you got ready to make omnipotent, why use that word omnipotent? Like what energy came out of you to say, I'm going to name this song and speak on it as omnipotent, and what it means to you? Explain that to me.
Yeah, man, you guys got great questions. So the cool thing about that project, that song was on an album called Release the Power, and it was actually during similar to that camp I did back in the winter break. I did another camp 2 summers ago in Tempe with some youth from all over the valley, and we were studying this book called Releasing the Powers of Junior Youth, and it was like helping youth learn how to be mentors, and kind of, you know, since I have the background in rap and stuff, in the programs, we normally try to do some arts. So I was like, hey, you know, what kind of art you guys want to do? And there was a few that like, oh, music, let's do some music. I was like, okay, let me throw this beat on. And then so people started writing and whatnot, and then all of a sudden people started like really getting into it. And I was like, man, like we could do more with this. This could be more than just a little activity. So there was like 3 youth in that group that really wanted to like make this like a professional sounding song and even make an album. So we kind of took it from there. But the source of the songs was these quotes, which are inspired by the Baha'i writings. And in one of those quotes, it was talking about God, and it was talking about his power. And one of the cool things I really appreciate about the Baha'i writings is it always refers to God in these different ways, because God is like unknowable. You know, we can't really fully understand God with our human mind, but we can understand certain aspects, and we can think of God in different ways. And one way is so if you read like a Baha'i prayer or something, it'll end the prayer by saying, you know, the all generous, the all bountiful, the all loving, the all forgiving, the most merciful, the all wise, you know, give all these ways to think of God, right? And one of the words in there was the omnipotent. And I had recently learned, funny enough, from music, the word omni, I learned from like from a microphone. Like there's called like an omnidirectional microphone, which means from all directions. So omni means all, like everywhere, and then potent just means powerful. Like when someone's like, "Oh man, that's potent," you know, that means powerful. So omnipotent or omnipotent means the all powerful. That God's power is literally everywhere and everything and every one of us. That power is there. So for some reason, that word was just, it was like hitting me in that moment. Like, oof, I like that word. And then in the chorus of that song, it's shouting out the omnipotent, the all bounteous, the all merciful. It's just shouting out like, this is who God is. God is all these words, all these titles. And then, you know, the chorus kind of finishes like, I know I'm nothing without the omnipotent, because God has that power. Like any power that I have, it comes from that creative source. So then we kind of, the whole idea of the song was like really channeling that love, that praise kind of feeling, like, let's give it up, you know, for the real you know, power. And so anyway, I know it's a word, you know, that isn't really used a lot, but for some reason when I just saw it, it was just,
in my community.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's how I'll tell you about When I told y'all, I say he know because the circle that I'm in, that's a familiar word.
Interesting. That's amazing how that works. You know, like those certain words that just if you have that, if for you it was familiar, so it just hit that certain thing. Whereas someone else who's not familiar with that word, they may go to a different word or may not even vibe with the song. So that's really cool to hear that.
Yeah, when I told Aaron, I was like, hey, you think you know? Then I thought about everything you did. I was like, of course you know. Of course you know.
What does it mean to you? I'll throw it back at you.
It's basically mean the universe, the all, the most powerful. That's what it meant to me, right? But it's just certain words like when I was in mental awareness class, like I just wouldn't use the word God. It was like universal omnipotent, you know, and it wasn't like it's a special word, but it's not like a secret word, but it's just a certain conversation of you know what I'm saying, of different people that use certain words to recognize different spiritual powers. And then I say certain people not religious, most people are spiritual. Right. So that's what it meant to me. Right?
Well, and to reach back in history, the Old Testament and in the Quran and in the Torah, when God presented himself to Moses as the burning bush, so it appears in all three books, and Moses asked him, who are you? God's answer was, I am. He didn't give himself a title because
it's everything.
Right. How do you give that title? And of course he knows. So his answer is, I am.
Yeah, and I like that because I think this idea of like the word we use, like when I say the word God, I have an understanding in my head what that means, which is clearly a flawed understanding.
Right.
And someone else may have an understanding of like, and this is where you got to be careful with words because someone in their head, God may mean some, you know, white guy in the sky who, you know, is doing this, but that's not my understanding. My understanding is more closer to what you're saying, this universal power that exists, that's guiding us and whatnot. So that's the tough thing is that we have to understand, well, what is this person? What's their understanding of that word? When it's a word that's so huge and powerful, you know? So
just the word alone.
Right.
So what's your music? So how long have you been? When did you say, yo, I'm rapping? I'm a rapper.
Yeah. Oh, that's a funny story. So,
you know,
right around the time we met was I was going through a lot of life changes. I was like my quarter life kind of like reflection of what's going on, what's the purpose of my life. And so I just started getting involved with service and doing AmeriCorps. And right around that time, one day I woke up and, you know, I wrote a little poem. And I was like, I kind of, you know, I can dig with this. You know, this is interesting. There's something flowing out of me. And then I went online. I found like a beat maker, made a little beat, went to like, I think Radio Shack, bought a microphone for the computer, recorded it, and was like, let me try this out, you know? And then I brought it to work. I was working at Discover Card at the time. It was right before I started AmeriCorps, and showed it to some friends, and they all just laughed and like clowned on me, like, this is terrible. But then a couple of them were like, well, you know, but to be fair, like your flow's not bad though. You know, it sounds terrible because it did, you know. I didn't know what I was doing. But they're like, your flow's not bad. So I kind of like tucked it away at that point. I was like, okay, because I loved hip hop. I loved listening to hip hop. And I was definitely someone more geared toward, at that point in my life, I was seeking out like more of the message. Like, let me try and find artists that are putting out something a little bit deeper.
So which artists was those that you listened to?
So at first it was more just any artist that I like Tupac. he has his whole catalog, but then there's certain songs where he's like getting a little bit more into the, you know, how is society functioning, you know, like changes and ghetto gospel and Brandon's Got a Baby, those kind of songs. He's like taking a deep look at something. I started listening more to those tracks of artist catalogs, right? But then, and it was more just like I'd find a song and I would just throw that in my catalog. It wasn't like necessarily artists. But then I started listening to like, there was this artist named Michael Franti who I really liked. He's like a mix of like hip hop and funk and soul kind of combined. There's this artist named Modest Yahoo who's like kind of like a Jewish reggae hip hop kind of vibe, just kind of random. But I'd be like, oh man, I like this person's message. Let me gravitate towards them. And so I started kind of compiling that catalog. So that was like in my DNA at that point. So I wrote this poem, and then it was just pretty crazy, you know, again, going to the whole universal energy and guiding us kind of thing. So I was, so one summer of 2012, right after my time with AmeriCorps, my wife, who was my girlfriend at the time, we were like, let's do something this summer. Let's travel somewhere, you know, let's just, you know, we're young, let's go travel. But let's do it in a way where it's about service, because that was in our hearts at that point. Instead of just going and doing a tourist kind of thing, like let's go find a place to go and like see if we can connect with something and do something positive while we're there. So in my college program, there was this class I was in, and it was an online class with people from all over the world. There was one guy in the class from Cameroon, Africa, and him and I just caught it up on Facebook, and there was like a spark, like a friendship. And so I was like, all right, well, we want to travel somewhere. This guy's got this volunteer organization over there. It's about the environment. I'm like, let me just ask him, maybe we can come volunteer with him. So I asked him, he's like, yes, like, let's make this happen. And so one thing leads to another. And a few months later, my girlfriend and I now my wife are on a plane to Cameroon to do like a month of volunteer service.
You had to get shots.
Had to get a couple of musicians, get a visa, the whole 9 yards.
Right.
We had to do like a fundraiser. It's not cheap to fly that far.
No,
so yeah, we did a little fundraiser, got the money, went over there. And crazy thing, first day we're over there, I'm thinking, okay, here to do some education, do some service kind of stuff. And there's this dude playing his guitar.
They smelled like shit over there too.
No, actually, it didn't smell too bad. It was nice. It was nice, man.
Really?
I was very surprised. It really cut all my stereotypes out of like what other parts of the world can look like. So they welcome us, and one of the beautiful things about them was in this community was there's like probably 200 people welcoming. Well, they did this huge welcoming ceremony for us as these visitors coming. We were the first international volunteers for this organization to come.
Wow.
And so there's this guy strumming his guitar and he's singing, and similar to what I was sharing, the words he was saying, I was like, ooh, I like this message he's singing about, and his voice is just captivating me. So anyway, that kind of sparked me, and I was like, you know what? Man, those lyrics I wrote like last year, I'm like, I feel like if he kind of sung them or he did something with it, I'm like, maybe there could be something there, And so anyway, his name was Awu or Awu, and the guy I was staying with, his name was Franklin. So I asked Franklin, I'm like, hey Franklin, like, who's that guy? He's like, oh, that's Awu, man. He's a great singer. He was a senior in high school at the time. And I was like, do you think he would like maybe want to collaborate with me? Like, I got this rap song I wrote. And as soon as I said I wrote this rap song, Franklin's like, whoa. He's like, you're a rapper? He's like, you didn't tell me that. I'm like, whoa, no. I'm not a rapper. I just wrote these lyrics one time. He's like, no. And he's like, all right. Change of plans. He's like, we have this plan. He's like, we need to get you in the studio. You two are going to record this song. If we don't get a song recorded by the time you leave, this trip is a failure. He just put it on me like that. And I was like, all right. So then me and Abe will meet up. He comes over to Franklin's house. We're kind of just chilling in the yard. And I had the lyrics memorized. So I write them all out and I show him. And he's like, okay, ooh, I like this. And then he has me rap my lyrics. He's like, oh, I really like this. And I show him the chorus. I can, you can, we can change the world. And he starts strumming his guitar. And the way he put it, he's like, I can, you can. And as soon as he blurted that out, I was like, I just got the goosebumps. I'm like, man, this is what this song was meant for. I was like, you just killed that. That was amazing. So then we put the song together and we just start sharing it. And that's when I started getting that. And this is something that I appreciate about you so much, is that enthusiasm. That energy. Like, that's why I love working with you so much as a student, because it's like he wants it. He's got that enthusiasm for it. So all of a sudden we're sharing this song and people are like, man, this song is amazing. We got to take this to someone else. And I was like, wow, I'm influencing people with these lyrics. Like, it started filling me up with this new energy. So then we go to the studio, and it was my first time in the studio, Awu's first time in the studio. And we got this big imposing like producer. He's like, all right, his name's Dobie. He's like, let me see what you got. I'm like really nervous. We do the song. And then again, confirmation. He looks at me. He's like, are you a Baha'i? And I'm like, a lot of people haven't heard of the Baha'i faith or don't know much about it. I'm like, how does this guy know I'm Baha'i? Like you're saying, oh, he knows. He just said that to me. And I was like, yeah. I'm like, how did you know? He's like, oh, I can tell by your lyrics. I was like, whoa, so I was like, okay, I'm in the right place. So anyway, so we recorded the song, and we recorded a couple songs while I was out there. I put them up on YouTube, and then that's when those comments start coming in of people like, this song, this is it. This inspired me. So then the producer said something to me. He's like, are you a rapper? And I was like, no, not really. He's like, no. He's like, you're a rapper. He's like, you need to rap more. This is something God gave you. And so he did that thing to me. I was like, no one ever had told me that. And someone who's just had never rapped before, never done it before. Like, it just, you don't have that confidence in you. So he gave me some confidence, and I was like, okay. So then I kept writing, and then kind of from there, it's been just growth, more and more growth. But that was really the seed where I was like, okay, I could do this. This is something that I have a talent for, that I have a passion for, and clearly it's affecting people in a positive way. So maybe I should keep doing this.
And that was what year?
That was in 2012 is when that started.
And damn. You know what's great about him, bro? I'm telling you what, this like, may just love you more, bro. So I'm looking like, rappers, like you feel like usually they rap to people that can understand. He had a crowd full of children, bro. I was so impressed by that. Then it was more children. Then it was more children. Then it was kids my age. Then it was, not kids my age, they don't care, but it was people my age. Then it was teenagers. And he just was covering. It was so broad, bro. And I was like, yeah. And he gave me ideas. right? I'm not gonna speak on it right now what it is, but he gave me ideas, inspired me, and I was like, oh, wait a minute now. Like these children, he's singing to these children. I was just like, you just did it, man. You just never stop, and I just so happy you never changed who you were, man. You stayed the same person, and definitely the producer and I recognize, because in communication, your vocabulary brings credibility to who you are. You know, so I learned that, so that means a lot. So just to know, like, I used to feel like, damn, man, I wish Colby could be here. I used to say that in George's class, like, he's this type of person for real. Like because I brought them to the class, you know, these were my friends. Like I was like, I brought him, then he brought him, and that's how we became friends. And I used to wish. So when I finally heard the Omnipotent, I was like, oh, he knew all this time. he was one, because you know, I cut all my friends out. Like y'all know, man, like the people I used to hang with, I don't hang with them no more. We don't have anything in common. I have a whole new community of people, right? But you showed me that, oh, y'all been out here, because I've been knowing you. I just didn't say certain words to let you know, like, oh, you knew, because I didn't know, you know. So that's good. It's good, man. I'm excited about this right here, man.
Yeah, man.
It's good.
I can tell.
That's real talk. Now, have y'all thought about doing anything?
See, I didn't want you to say that. I didn't want you to say that, but since he just said, yeah, I was doing music.
Okay.
You know, I was doing music.
We're gonna talk more about that.
Yeah, but I just concentrate. I just concentrate more on writing. No, I tried to do like write positive rap music.
Fastest is this 3-headed monster. Too fastest is this 3-headed monster. You got a lot of skills there. People don't know all the things. Right?
True. Right. But you know how I gave back. I'm gonna tell you something, right? Yeah. I gave back by writing my songs to kids. Now my kids' songs is fire. Am I right? Yeah. They fire. So I don't have to. My when I was rapping, it was going mostly to like adults and street people. So to give back, my positive words go to my kids. I be having all the kids around my neighborhood be like, I was just in here singing some of the songs, and one guy, he said something just blew me up. He said, "Are you a singer? You sing so great." I was like, "Hey, dude, thank you, man. Thank you for saying that." So it's just how you give back, man. It don't have to be rap, it's music, like whatever.
So when it comes to shows, like, do you prefer performing in front of kids or teens or adults, or like when you're writing,
right?
Who's your audience? Or you like, man, I'm just writing and this is for anybody, or I'm just writing and, you know, only the top level cast.
Yeah, no, that's another fantastic question. I think like what you're talking about is so important. It's like, who is my audience? Who am I talking to? And I think for me, like, originally, like those first few songs I wrote, it was more of like, this is for the world. You know, that was my mindset. Like, this is a message for the world. And there's, you know, there's songs out there that kind of have that vibe, like that Michael Jackson, We Are the World kind of vibe. Like, let's bring everyone together. That was kind of my starting point.
Right.
But then I remember I had this experience one time that really jarred me. It was like when I first started being a youth mentor. Like, and I remember there's one kid that was in my group, you know, and his mom was like, "Hey, could you bring him home and could you just kind of hang out at the house for like 15 minutes? I'm not home yet. I don't want to be alone." I'm like, "Yeah, sure." So I'm hanging out with them. He turns on the TV and he's just like watching VH1, I remember. And as he's watching VH1, you know, typical channel, nothing crazy, not like an X-rated channel. And there's just this girl comes on with her boobs hanging out. And I'm kind of sitting there like, I've probably sat there and watched something like this by myself and not really thought too much about it. But now I'm watching it with this like 11-year-old. I didn't even remember. And that's the thing. It wasn't even. It was just some normal show. It wasn't some like crazy show. But
you watching it with an 11-year-old now.
Right. So now I'm like, wait a minute.
Here.
Yeah. I was like, oh my gosh. Like, I was like, maybe we should change the channel. It gave me like a whole new perspective. I'm like, dang, he's just exposed to this. Like, but they're not really thinking about him too much, you know. So then it made me think about like when I'm putting out stuff. I can't only just think about me, or I can't only think about my peer group, because I think that's what gets a lot of people in trouble. They put out music and they're only thinking about their peers. Because when you're around your peers, you can be more relaxed. You could use a cuss word here, you know, be open. You don't have to. You can joke around or whatever. It's not a big deal. But then when you're around kids, you think twice about that. You're like, oh, maybe I should elevate my conduct a little bit, or protect them a little bit more with how I'm behaving. And so for me, I've always thought, okay, I want to be real. I want to. And it's a tough thing. It's like, how do I put out a message that kids can listen to, but that also, because also a lot of times with kid music, people say, oh, that's corny. I don't want to listen to that. So it's like, okay, so then how do I make something that kids can vibe with, but also that a teen's going to want to listen to, that an adult can also appreciate? And it can be tough because sometimes you might hit the mark, like this one goes more with the kids, but the adults aren't really vibing with it. And then this one, the adults are really vibing with, but it's like kind of above the kids' head. They don't really get it. So, you know, I'm not saying I'm perfect at it, but I really try to like, how do I make sure that in general as an artist, I'm putting out something that like really everyone in the community can at some point connect with. Because if we're not thinking about, because that's the tough thing. It's like with music and everything, like, you know, kids are getting phones earlier and earlier, and these apps don't really care too much about what's on there. So kids have access to like really X-rated stuff.
For a 5-year-old.
Right. And it's like, and it's a direct access to pornography, to things that are just, you know, really toxic to their soul. About that, then, you know, it can be very problematic. So anyway, so that's just, I would say I try to make it accessible to all the audience, but it probably varies song. And in terms of performing, it's kind of like I like doing like my own concerts. That's my favorite performance, and that is kind of a reflection of I'll have the youth I'm working with, I'll have the adults I know in the community, I'll have the kids I know in the community, and it does have that full community kind of vibe to it, which I really love. I love because I don't think that exists a whole lot either. Most spaces, it's like, oh, this is for the youth, and if you're old, you're not cool enough to be here. And oh, this is a place for the kids, so we'll make this kind of squeaky clean, and there's none of that in there. And then oh, this place is for the adults, so we'll just say whatever we want over here. And and there's not a lot of spaces where the whole family and community is coming together and like being in that light with each other. So that's one of my goals, is creating that space. But you know, it can be a challenge.
Well, it looks like the computer's trying to tell us it's getting close. So
thank you for having me, guys. It's awesome.
My man.
But of course, we're not quite done yet. We got the most important aspect of the show. The music assignments.
Okay.
So this last month, we had to listen to the Parliament's Mothership Connection.
The best.
Great album. Your thoughts, Val?
I thought it was awesome. P-Funk himself, you know. But as I was listening to it, it was like, there's so many songs that's been sampled, like Dre off the Chronic sample one, Redman Tales from the Dark Side sample another joint, and I'm just like, yo, I remember this jam. But I don't remember the original version. I remember the jam from the hip hop version. But in a way, it was like, yo, we've always been connected to the forefathers of music, through the samples, that as artists keep coming over, and they still keep us connected. Like Michael Jackson stuff gets sampled, and you know, you still get that connection. You're like, oh, that's that Michael beat. You know what I'm saying? But like, oh, that's that Parliament. Or that's that Frankie Beverly and Maze. You know what I'm saying? But I mean, it's just, you know how you say, it's just groovy, baby. I mean, them high snares and that bass guitar. Really? Yeah, baby, it's just groovy, baby.
Well, let me give you my point, right?
You know what I mean?
I didn't go listen to the music. I watched the videos, and I recognized that my dad or my mom or uncle them must have been high. That's just so true. So I'm like, I'm looking at. I remember my uncle walking in with these boots on, right?
With the fish.
Yeah, with the fish, right? Had the little fish, and I'm like, oh, little poor fish is gonna die.
Right.
He was fat too, so I was like, they gonna crush it, right? But